Good morning or good evening, depending on when you're seeing this video. My name is Aaron Carrasco Guzman, and I wish to be an English teacher. I have a certification for TKT, Teaching Knowledge Test of Cambridge, modules 1, 2, and 3, in band 3 or 4 of all those three modules. Also a certification for junior learners from TKT, also band 3 or 4. For the class of today, I want us to talk about present perfects. In English, most like in Spanish, depending on when an action is occurring, we have different times to denotate in which time is happening. For example, the most common as past, pasado, present, presente, and future, futuro. In past, I talked with my neighbor. Yo hablé con mi vecino. In present, I'm living in Gómez Palacio. Yo estoy viviendo en Gómez Palacio. And in future, I will take an exam tomorrow. Yo tomaré un examen mañana. When we're talking about present perfect, we are talking about things that can affect both the past and the present in our actions. For example, that started in the past but still affect us to this day. He has been a teacher since 2004. Él ha sido un maestro desde 2004. I've taken these medicines since I was born. Yo he tomado esta medicina desde que nací. Actions that have happened in the past but that can repeat in the present. She has been to France 2 times. Ella ha ido a Francia 2 veces. Read that book 5 times. Yo he leído ese libro 5 veces. Another thing that we can use is something that has just happened. For example, he has just left. Él se acaba de ir. Or I have just finished my homework. Acabo de terminar mi trabajo, mi tarea. Also, for things that occur in the past and on an unspecified time. We are not saying last year, 2 years ago, yesterday. We are just knowing that it happened in the past. For example, he has been to that museum. Él ha ido a ese museo. We don't know exactly when it happened, but we know that it happened. We can also use it. Another example is I've seen that movie. Yo he visto esa película. I'm not saying when did I see that movie. If I could have seen it yesterday, I could have seen it a year ago, I could have seen it this morning. But you know that I have seen that movie. Yo he visto esa película. Or a change that happened over time. Your English has improved. Tu inglés ha mejorado. My dog has grown a lot. Mi perro ha crecido mucho. Using this one, we are comparing with a piece of time. It could be since last time we met, since last year, since last month. Okay? And also for an uncompleted action that we're expecting to happen. They still haven't arrived. Ellos aún no han llegado. But we are hoping they do. Pero esperamos que lo hagan. The present perfect will be they still haven't arrived. Ellos aún no han llegado. Uses for the present perfect. Now, for the present perfect, we can see there are three kinds of sentence for the present perfect: an affirmative sentence, a negative sentence, and an interrogative sentence. The affirmative form, we're gonna use the next structure. We need first of all a subject: I, you, we, they. Then we have to use a complement. In this case, it will depend on the subject. For I, you, they, and we always use have. For she and he is has. After that is a past participle. We can say it like this: I have been, I have eaten, I have taken. After that, we can use a complement. I have taken this medicine. I have read this book. I have eaten this sandwich. Okay? With he and she, it will be she has or he has. He has eaten, she has taken, he has read, she has watched. And I know everything, a complement. Subject, to have, past participle, and a complement. I have read this book. Subject, I, then the complement have, past participle, read, and the complement this book. For the negative sentences, we're going to use the subject. We're using the same rules for he and she. I have plus not. I have not. Then the past participle, taken, and a complement. I have not taken this bus. I have not read this book. I have not watched this movie. We're usually are gonna use a contraction. We have not. Haven't. I haven't watched this movie. I haven't read this book. I haven't eaten in this restaurant. For she and he is she has not or he has not. Then the past participle and the complement. She has not taken this bus. He has not read this book. She hasn't watched this series. Listen there, there's a construction. Has not will be hasn't. She hasn't read this book. He hasn't watched this movie. She hasn't eaten these chips. It will be, again, subject, she or he, has plus not, that can be contracted to hasn't, and past participle, taken, watched, read, and the complement. She hasn't watched this series. The final use is things that we want to ask. We have to make sure that something has happened or hasn't happened. For making a question in present perfect, there's a little difference with the rest of the structures. The most important difference is that we are going to start the question with the have or has. Remember, I, she, I, we, they are all have. He and she has. I, we, they, you have. She and he has. For a question, we start with a have or has. Have you, then the past participle, been, and the complement. Have you been to this city? Have you stayed at this hotel? Have you watched this movie? Okay? For she and he. Has she done the homework? Has he read this book? Has she talked with her doctor? Okay? Last one, we're gonna use it to make sure that something has happened. For example, my neighbor has been to this movie theater and I want to ask his or her opinion. Have you been to this theater? It could be a positive or a negative. Yes, I have. No, I have. We can we can ask a family a question if they have visited a medic. Have you visited the doctor? Have you been to a hospital recently? Again, positive or negative. I have or no, I have not. For contractions, I haven't. Okay? A case that we want to make a little more clear when is the time that we're talking about, we can use adverbs like yet, already, or just. For example, have you been to this place? I've just been to this place. In Spanish it will be, ¿has ido a este lugar? Apenas acabo de ir. I've just been. I have just been in this place. In a normal conversation, have you visited this museum? I have just been to this museum yesterday. ¿Has visitado este museo? Yo apenas acabo de visitar ese museo ayer. Already. Have you visited a doctor? Have you been to a doctor? I've already been to a doctor. Yo ya he visto un doctor. I already been to a doctor. I already seen a doctor. For example, yo ya he estado con el doctor. And yet, it will be like todavía. Have you eaten in this restaurant? I haven't eaten there yet. Yo aún no he comido ahí. O todavía no he comido ahí. Something that we want to ask if it has ever happened, we use precisely the word ever. Have you ever been to Mexico City? ¿Tú alguna vez has estado en la Ciudad de México? I have or I have not. Again, it can be constricted. It, it can be shortened to I haven't. Or, in case I have, I already have. I have, sorry, I have been to Mexico City. Have you ever been to this museum? Have you ever visited this museum? Have you ever tasted this food? Have you ever eaten? Have you ever eaten a worm? Have you ever eaten an insect? ¿Alguna vez has comido un insecto? Yes, I have. No, I haven't. Sí, ya lo he hecho. O no, no lo he hecho. In this, I want to give you a little more examples that you might use in common life. I have taken this exam when you're talking about something that you have done for, let's say, a job. Yo ya he hecho este trabajo, yo ya he hecho este examen. I have been in this work for 9 years. Yo he estado en este trabajo por 9 años. I have been a teacher for 2 years. Yo he sido un maestro por 2 años. I've been working in this field for 9 years. Yo he estado trabajando en este campo por 9 años. More common that you're gonna use the negative for answering questions. As I said before, have you ever is a good example. ¿Alguna vez has? Have you ever been to prison? No, I haven't. No, yo nunca he estado en prisión. For the whole phrase, it will be no, I have not been to prison. And for the contraction, no, I haven't. Just no, I haven't to answer the question. As I said before, if you ever want to do a question, the most common way to ask it is precisely by asking a question in the present perfect. Have you ever been? Have you ever taken? Have you ever tasted? Have you ever eaten? It's the most common use of the phrase of the time. It's the most common use of the time to ask another person if they ever have been, they ever have taken, or they ever have done something else. Well, I hope I didn't take a lot of your time, and I hope you have a nice day or a nice evening. Take care.